Hi, everybody. Al Bernstein here with another one of my quick hits. I'll look back on the weekend and the big pay-per-view evening of Saturday, September 12th, when Floyd Mayweather fought Andre Berto, but underneath was one of the best undercards to a pay-per-view that we've seen in a long, long time. And I want to review that undercard and talk about a couple of championship fights that were very, very good, one of which was very controversial. And even the first one, some would say, could have gone the other way in what turned out to be a split decision. Let's talk first about the 168-pound championship match between Bad Dude Jack, who was defending his 168-pound title, his very first defense against George Groves, a fine fighter from England who had twice battled Carl Froch for the 168-pound title but come up short. This figured to be a very well-fought fight, and boy, was it. Both men were superb. Now, Bad Dude Jack has an interesting combination of skill sets. Great jab that you'll see on the screen, which he used against George Grove. And the other thing he's great at is body punching. And he was a murderous body puncher in this fight. It was one of the best exhibitions of body punching I have seen in a long, long time. However, that doesn't negate the fact that George Groves did some fantastic work in this fight. Groves was down early, very first round, managed though, and was stunned, managed to get his wits about him, pull himself back into this fight, and had some very, very good rounds. He did, however, at the end start to fade in the 8th or 9th and 10th rounds, and the second part of the fight wasn't as good for him as he would like. Jack, who came on strongly in the second part of his fight with Anthony Durrell to win the title, again pushed forward very, very well. To me, the big key in this fight and the overriding reason George Grove ended up on the short end of a split decision win is that he simply couldn't hurt Bad Dude Jack with his right hand. I thought he would, land more of those overhand rights than he did, though he did land some very good ones. And I also thought he would be able to stun or hurt Bad Dude Jack with that punch. He was not able to. And I think that more than anything was probably the issue. Now, the scoring of this fight, it was a split decision, as I mentioned, with one judge going for Groves, 114-113, another with a 115-112 for Jack, and yet another 116-111 for Jack. I personally can't see the 116-111 score for Bad Dude Jack. I thought this was a fairly close fight. I thought Jack probably won it by 2 points, but it was very well contested, and I think the 116-111 score was odd, to say the least. In any case, for Bad Dude Jack, this was a landmark win because it was his best fight as a pro, and against a very, very good fighter in George Groves. George Groves is superb, and he was able to get the job done against him, albeit by a small margin. As for George Groves, nothing to hang your head about. Very well could be another title shot in his picture. He's 27 years of age. He very well could win a version of the 168-pound title. He is a terrific fighter, but for a break here and there, might have ended up winning this fight as well. So nothing for George Groves to hang his head about. Now, we've moved to the other main support fight for Mayweather-Berto, and that was a battle between Orlando Salido and Roman Martinez for Martinez's 130-pound title, the title he took from Orlando Salido in their fight earlier this year, which was a Fight of the Year candidate. In this fight, Roman Martinez was not able to do what he did in the first fight, and that is box effectively in all the early rounds and build up a certain margin. What happened instead was they got in a slugfest immediately, and both men scored knockdowns in the third round. In truth, the knockdown of Martinez probably wasn't a knockdown. Salido stepped on his foot. Martinez's knockdown was a true knockdown of Salido. Either way, even if you score that fight, that round, though, it could be scored 10-9 for Martinez because he controlled the round a little better, which it might have been. It wouldn't have been a 10-8 round for him. Now, when we moved into the middle rounds of this fight, Orlando Salido was able to do every single thing he wanted. He was able to turn it into a wild affair. He was able to cut the distance between himself and Martinez very effectively, put Martinez on the ropes. Now, in the process, Roman Martinez landed some very good punches. He showed himself to be able to brawl with Salido, or I shouldn't even say brawl. It's too harsh a word because there was skill involved in this as well. He was able to battle with him sometimes on fairly even terms, sometimes. But he was fighting Salido's fight. And so Orlando Salido was able to, in the middle rounds, I thought, completely dominate this fight. And while Martinez had a mini comeback heading in toward the end of the fight, Orlando Salido, with devastating left hooks to the body, an overhand right that he couldn't land in the first fight but was able to land in this one, was very, very effective. It was his kind of fight, and he fought it well. At age 34, a man who has twice lost championships and won them back, a man who has been written off 6-7 times already, came back and fought the fight of his life, and at the end of the day, it was put in the judge's hand. So let's look at the scorecards that ended up making this fight a draw. Bert Clemens had the fight scored 115-113 for Salido. Glenn Feldman had it a draw, and Patricia Morris-Jarman actually had it 115-113 for Martinez. Now, there were a couple of rounds in which Jarman disagreed with the other two judges, and that left her the 115-113 score for Martinez. But one of the most egregious things about this that I would look at is in round 12, when we circled the 10s given to Martinez in that round, all three judges scored that round for Martinez. And that's mystifying to me because I can't imagine how that round would have gone to Martinez. I urge you to take a look back if you have access to this fight. Look at round 12, and I'll be amazed if you feel that Martinez won that round. Either way, I believe Orlando Salido won this fight. As I mentioned, a 34-year-old putting in a huge effort to try and win this fight, and then the fight gets taken from him. It's really, to me, it's an outrage. And they're likely to have a trilogy. They're probably going to have a third fight. But I hope somebody pays attention in the third fight, if in fact he does the same thing, to all the work that Salido actually did. Now, I love Rocky Martinez, and this is not to denigrate him or take anything away from him. He fought a rugged and terrific and courageous fight, but he didn't win. And when you penalize a veteran for a winning effort, I think it's just not a good situation. And it mars what otherwise should be a fight that boxing fans remember as a great battle of two warriors. And don't forget, you can see a replay of the Mayweather-Berto fight, along with the terrific match between Orlando Salido and Roman Martinez on Saturday night on Showtime Sports on Showtime at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific time. So we'll see you next time on the Quick Hits.